Well, good Thursday morning. Thank you for watching us here for Live Impact News on 13 News Now Plus. My name is Eugene Daniel. I am in our streaming studio in Hampton Roads, Virginia, alongside producer Sarah Calloway and meteorologist Hunter Force with a beautiful backdrop there of a Carnival cruise that is docked at our Norfolk terminal there. Man, to be on that ship or coming back, I don't know if they just got here or they're leaving soon, but sounds nice. And what also looks kind of nice is the forecast, Hunter. What are we looking at?
It's going to be a beautiful day today. It's going to be a beautiful-ish day tomorrow. And then much cooler heading into this weekend. And I just made a video about this that's now on social media. We do have a little bit of a jump scare, I would say, in the forecast Saturday morning. But let's just enjoy the next couple of days, especially today. It's going to be fantastic. Already it's warm out. We're already in the mid to even upper 60s stepping out the door. We're 66 in Norfolk and Virginia Beach. It's 66 in Hampton, 64 in Newport News, 66 in Suffolk, 64 in Elizabeth City, and 66 degrees in Chesapeake. We are much warmer than this time yesterday by about 15 to 18 degrees. So stepping out, walk into your car feeling really nice. Satellite radar's looking good. Not a whole lot going on today. Just going to be spectacular for any outdoor plans. There is this system off to our north and west that's going to bring down some rain showers heading into Friday night. And for today, going to bring some severe weather across parts of Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, into Pennsylvania as well. They do have a tornado risk as well, but heading into the next couple of days here when that system moves into our region, not expecting any severe weather, just some rain and maybe a rumble of thunder or two. So here's a look at the futurecast through the rest of the day today. 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, we're in the 70s. We'll get into the mid to upper 70s later on today. Heading home from work, going to be great weather. And then as we head into this evening, temperature's still staying really comfortable. So if, you're going for a walk at 7, 8 o'clock, we're still in the low 70s. And it's going to stay mild overnight. Tonight, we're going to have that southwest breeze. So we'll stay in the mid to even upper 60s for a few spots overnight. So 8 o'clock, it's 8:30 in the morning, you're heading off to work. We're in the mid 60s. It's feeling good. 66 in Norfolk, 62 in Virginia Beach, 66 in Gloucester, 64 in Hertford. By the afternoon, we are in the upper 70s. So 12 o'clock, you're heading out to lunch. It's feeling pretty good. And then you'll notice that cold front rolling on in because temperatures in Gloucester, 60, 54 in Tappahannock. But here we're pushing 80 degrees. And then the cold front swoops in and temperatures plummet into the low 60s, even upper 50s by Friday afternoon, 2, 3 o'clock. So big changes for the second half of the day. Staying pretty mild in eastern North Carolina for much of the day, but then eventually that cold front reaches you guys and it's cloudier. We're seeing rain move in. It's much cooler. So Friday night is not looking great. Cold and rainy. Unfortunately. That's 8 o'clock. We're seeing some light to moderate rainfall across much of our northern spots. We're in the mid-40s. And then by around 9, 10 o'clock, we see that pushing into the south side and eastern North Carolina. And then by Saturday morning, things are looking chilly. So actual air temperatures will be, in the mid to low 40s, but it's going to be pretty breezy. So this is waking up Saturday morning. This is 8:45.
I don't like that.
No.
I do not like it. Especially on a Saturday? No.
Right. That's the jump scare I was talking about. I mean, mid-20s in some spots. 26 in West Point. 24 in Chincoteague. No, thank you. We're past this. This is not what we want anymore. We are good. Thank you, Mother Nature, but we're good. I appreciate you trying to mix things up. You don't want us to, just be walking out with warm temperatures every morning. I get that, but this is too much. But as we head into Saturday afternoon, we're only going to be in the low 50s. A much bigger difference from what we were experiencing last weekend. Last weekend was beautiful, 70s and low 80s, but only 51 on Saturday. We should be around 63 degrees for this time of year. And then by Sunday, we're a little bit warmer, but still below average in the upper 50s to right around 60 degrees, mostly sunny, a tad bit milder. So it's a cooler weekend, but at least we'll be dry. So if you do have any outdoor plans, you're just going to have to, put on an extra layer compared to what we were doing last weekend, or maybe an extra layer or two. But we've continued to warm up heading into next week, back into the lower 70s Monday and Tuesday, eventually mid to even upper 70s, pushing 80 by Thursday. And it's looking like by next weekend, it'll be milder than this upcoming weekend, back into, the lower 70s. So we shall see. But can you believe that next Wednesday is April 1st? I feel like March... This has definitely been the quickest month so far this year.
You think so? I feel like we say that about every month.
No.
That has happened so far.
Because February, no.
February
even though it was
seemed
a
like
short month.
It was a short month.
It was a short month, but it felt like it took forever. March just...
See, I think the opposite. I feel like March has, dragged on.
Really?
Yeah.
Or
I'm
at least
shocked.
the last, 10 days.
Have you been gone some days this month? Have you been on vacation some days this month?
A few times.
Okay, a few times. So I think that may factor into why this month went so fast for you,
Maybe.
Hunter.
You might be right. That's a good point. But I normally feel like when you talk to someone and you're like, wow, this week has dragged on, or sometimes you're like, wow, this week flew by. Mm-hmm. Normally you're in agreement with the person you're talking to.
And
at least in my experience.
It was 1v2.
And this is
Sarah?
like a rare time when we're not in
Both of us
agreement.
are not. Yeah, we're not in the same wavelength.
Be
But
actually, you're wrong.
I'm really shocked to say I really did think this month flew by. I can't believe it's already going to be April soon.
yeah, now the last few months going by so fast, I'll give you that. The fact that we're already going to be a quarter of the way through with 2026. Yeah, I'll give you that.
Wow.
Yeah, a quarter.
That's wild.
Mm-hmm.
When you put it like that.
Yeah. But, here's the thing, though. Like, with us being in March, we know April, we're kind of already been teased with some of the warmer temperatures. And then we have, days like Saturday that are coming up. But I'm really encouraged because we're getting to the part of the year where that Hampton Roads weather really kicks in that we know and love. And it's not just Hampton Roads, though, right? Like, let's take a look here. This is in D.C. We have the cherry blossoms that are now in bloom there. And so this is such a wonderful time for a lot of people. You don't just have to go to D.C. to get the cherry blossoms. You can go right down the street to Virginia Beach and see some there. And as we're looking at it, too, we know that weather, temperature, all of that plays a part in us being able to have the site that's before us.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just realized I have the wrong.
Yeah, no, that's why I was like, I'm Craig.
I didn't realize that. Yeah,
It's
that
all
is
right.
Hunter.
It's not a bad thing.
That is Hunter.
There we go.
There I am. But yeah, the blossoms up in D.C., Craig was just saying in the morning meeting that the peak bloom is today, like we have up there, but it was supposed to be kind of in the next couple of days. But the warmer temperatures kind of fast forwarded it to earlier to today, to today. Sorry, I was having some speaking issues there. But yeah, if you're going to see it this weekend up in DC, it's going to be chilly. I mean, I believe Saturday's only going to be in the upper 40s up there, and it's going to be breezy, so it's going to be a chilly peak viewing season for those, and then we'll be in the low 50s in DC on Sunday. So it's going to be chilly pretty much everywhere. But at least it'll be a beautiful sight to see.
Yeah, it will be. It will be. And again, you can go up to D.C. I know a lot of people make that trip to see it, take a jacket if you're going to go up this weekend. But if you don't or can't make that trip, I just looked up the dates. You can do so at Red Wing Park in Virginia Beach from March 27th, so tomorrow, through April 3rd. There will be the Cherry Blossom Festival there. So Red Wing Park, starting tomorrow through the 3rd of April, so next week.
Beautiful.
So basically till next Friday, from Friday to Friday.
Ooh.
You can go out there. You don't have to drive as far. These are images from Red Wing Park.
Yeah, I was
right?
going to say that these were taken, or they were posted by the city last Friday,
Mm-hmm.
and this was when the blossoms were at stage 5 of the blooming process. There are 6 stages. So I think they expected them to peak on Monday,
Okay.
but the peak lasts a few days, so by the time the festival starts this weekend, they should be still pretty in bloom.
And again, it's going to be chillier on Saturday, right? But Hunter, for the rest of the week, looking ahead, will people be able to go out there without a jacket? Will they need to kind of take a jacket for the next 7 days or so?
I would say just this weekend.
Just this weekend, okay.
Yeah.
So if you go in after work Monday through Friday, you should be okay.
You're going to be good. We're going to be back into the 70s
Okay.
starting on Monday.
Okay.
So you'll love to see it.
Well, you have that. You have the cherry blossoms. And one other thing, if we can pull up News 1 Channel 2, it is opening day for Major League Baseball. And I only bring this up as we take a look at the Great American Ballpark in Cincinnati, home of the Cincinnati Reds. I bring that up because tomorrow is opening night at Harbor Park for the Norfolk Tides. And so we got that tomorrow night, and we were just talking about the forecast for tomorrow. I think the game is at 6 o'clock, I believe. A lot of things going on there with the construction of the casino and all of that. But still, we expect for people to get out there and enjoy opening night. One more time, Hunter, you said this weekend, obviously a jacket. I couldn't remember if it's supposed to rain or drizzle tomorrow night.
So 6 o'clock should be fine.
Okay.
But I would say by the end, you could be seeing some rain showers. By around 8, 9 o'clock, that's
Okay.
when they'll kind of start to be pushing in.
Well, the games happen much faster now, right? They have a game clock. So maybe by
got it.
that time they'll be,
They'll be done.
I don't know. Maybe. Hopefully everything will be good for that. But we are expecting a lot of people to go out, and even
Yeah.
some of our own coworkers too will be there. And so hopefully the weather cooperates. Opening day can be smooth and great.
Yeah.
Phenomenal. All right, Hunter.
I'm excited. I'm sorry to cut you off.
Go
I
ahead.
was just going to say, I'm excited for opening day, baseball season starting, because it just reminds you of warmer days ahead. I love sitting out at Harbor Park and just watching the games.
Yeah.
It's so fun. It's so easy to get there with the tide.
Oh my gosh.
I mean,
so easy.
It's great. It's so fun getting a nice hot dog,
Other things.
other things, maybe a beer.
Oh, that's what I was speaking of for sure. No, it really is. I'm really looking forward to the games. They play against Nashville, so that'll be pretty cool.
Nice.
Nashville is coming into town. But anything else that we need to know for our forecast, man, when it comes to this Hampton Roads weather?
Just you see that dip there? It's
Yeah.
just this weekend, unfortunately. 51 on Saturday, 59 on Sunday. So at least we rebound on Sunday, but still below average. And then we're heading back into the 70s starting on Monday. So it's not. We're getting to the time where we'll have these dips, but they're not prolonged. We kind of get back to warmer weather. But just remember Saturday morning, wind chills around 30 degrees, maybe even mid-20s for some spots. So it's going to be cold for sure, unfortunately. But it won't last very long. And you know what? Maybe you like wind chills when it's in the 30s. So there you go. You have one more shot.
Yeah, I'll just think ahead towards Monday and after that. Oh man, okay, Hunter, we appreciate you, man. Thank
No
you so
problem.
much for coming
Thank
in
you.
and talking about the forecast for us. And I know we got to take a quick break here. It's 10:15. We'll be right back here on Live Impact News. Thank you for staying with us here for Live Impact News. The war between the U.S., Israel, and Iran now goes into its fourth week, and there have been a lot of concerns brought forth by some of the leaders here in Virginia, including Senator Mark Warner. Now, he was on the Senate floor speaking about the potential impact and already impact that we're seeing when it comes to energy cost here on American soil because of some of the things that are taking place overseas, particularly the fight over the Strait of Hormuz right now, which has essentially been cut off there with the war with Iran. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to play a few minutes of the senator's statements speaking again to his colleagues about some of the concerns he has about the cost that this is having on American families here in the United States.
Senator Virginia.
Mr. President, I rise today nearly a month into President Trump's ill-advised war of choice in Iran, which has obviously destabilized the region, disrupted global supply chains, degraded our munitions stockpiles, and cost the lives of 13 American service members with more than 200 additional suffering injuries. Fortunately, it's clear that even though this was a war of choice and could be decided by the president's own timing, he started this with no clear end game and without adequately preparing for Iran's very predictable response, which obviously would have included the Strait of Hormuz, which obviously would have included Iran attacking other Gulf nation states. The intelligence on this is consistent and overwhelming for years. And frankly, closing the Strait of Hormuz, which is one of the world's most strategically vital maritime choke points. Now, look at the Strait of Hormuz for a moment. Way back in the 70s, when we had an oil shock, 7% of the world's oil went through the strait. Today, 20% goes through. Back in the 70s, no natural gas went through the Strait of Hormuz. Now, close to 20%. So the closure of the strait has wreaked havoc on both the global oil and gas supply chains. As I said, normally about 20% of the world's oil and liquefied natural gas passes through the strait. Today, traffic through the strait has nearly grounded to a halt, literally down 95% since the start of the war. The International Energy Agency has already called the effective closure of the strait and all the other ancillary items coming out of this the worst global energy disruption in history, eclipsing even the Arab oil embargo of 1973. Old enough to remember that. I know the senator from Maryland's old enough to remember that, which caused huge gas lines and damage all around the world. So if we just measure what's happened so far in these 3 weeks plus, to date, the closure of the strait has removed approximately 400 million barrels of oil, around four days of world supply, from the market. And again, much of the oil that's still getting through actually started on tankers before the war started. And that 400 million barrels of oil that have been removed, and that number will rise exponentially now, has led to price increases of around 50% for Brent crude. Now, that's the global benchmark for oil. As well, and this has gotten some coverage in our country, but not enough, Iran has also carried out significant strikes on oil and gas facilities throughout the Gulf. In total, more than 40 energy sites in 9 countries across the Middle East have been severely damaged due to the conflict, including the world's largest liquefied natural gas facility in Qatar to be closed down. That produces about 1/5 of the world's LNG. And many of the facilities that were not even attacked, they still took out all the natural gas from the facility, because if a missile had hit them with the gas in the facility, it would have caused a massive explosion. And while I'm no expert here, I've been told to restart those facilities will take weeks to months. Because the truth is, even if the president feels in his bones today or tomorrow that we've won the war and stops the bombing, with no guarantee that Israel will stop or Iran will stop, and the strait starts to get reopened, we're still going to see economic pain across the globe for weeks, months, potentially a year. Now, for consumers in the U.S., the conflict obviously has led to severe price shocks at the gas pump. Since the war began, average gas prices in the United States have increased by about $1 a gallon, 30%. And I will take a bet with anybody in this chamber that we're going to see an average gas price of $4 that will be maintained for some time. And that $4 price will be the highest since 2022. And here, let's take the optimistic view. Even if the strait is reopened today, the average household in our country is still expected to pay about $740 more in gas prices for the remainder of the year. That's just gas. What about diesel? Well, Americans are struggling at the pump. Skyrocketing diesel costs are threatening to increase the pain for households across a series of domains. Last week, diesel prices eclipsed $5 per gallon on average. That was only the second time in history diesel got above $5. And that's about 40% higher than before the war began. And diesel is the trucking industry's second largest expense account. And for most trucking firms, that diesel costs account for about 20% of their total operating cost. For most freight companies, a 40% rise in the diesel cost results in about an overall increase in 10% on all the items that are shipped. We depend upon the trucking industry to ship goods. If their costs go up 10%, they're not going to pay it. That's going to get passed on to consumers. And that will mean everything in the supply chain, from lumber that's used to construct homes to groceries and everything in between. And while we Americans are already feeling the impact at the pump, many nations across the globe, particularly in Asia, are facing even more extreme costs. Of the roughly 20% of the world's oil and gas that goes through the Strait of Hormuz, about 80% goes to Asia. And the impacts there have been even wilder. Oil prices have hit $150 a barrel. And as supply tightens and prices skyrockets, one country, the Philippines, literally, because they get 100% of their oil from the Gulf, said we can't operate a full economy, so there is a mandatory one-day-a-week holiday. Vietnam has urged its residents to work from home. Cambodia and Laos have closed about 1/3 to 40% of their gas stations because they just don't have fuel. Now, we buy a lot of stuff from Asia, from Vietnam, from Bangladesh, from Philippines, from China, from everywhere. If those costs have gone up 40%, all the stuff we buy from those countries are going to go up for American consumers as well. So whether it's electronics, clothes, appliances, if you haven't seen a price increase yet, don't worry. It's coming very shortly, and it will be significant. Let's talk about jet fuel. Americans can also expect to pay more on air travel due to the war in Iran, as the price of jet fuel has more than doubled since the conflict began. In many cases, airlines have already responded by raising fares, canceling flights. Some estimates indicate airlines have raised fares about $20 away each way, going and coming on average. Matter of fact, United recently raised its fares 15 to 20% just last week. And also United, which I think is a precursor of things to come, have literally eliminated a number of long-haul flights. So any who planning on going to Europe or planning on going to Asia or planning on going to South America, maybe not cross-country flights yet, your choices are going to drop dramatically. Now, this is all related to oil, natural gas, jet fuel. But the fact is, the president's war in Iran, and its subsequent closure of the Strait of Hormuz, is really wreaking havoc on a lot of other industries, from semiconductors to new cars. Let me tell you why. For example, the current situation is threatening to upend the global semiconductor industry and other advanced technology industries by impacting the availability of a crucial input, helium. Now, most of us here at home think about helium as what we use for party balloons. Senator Van Hollen, I know, has used it many times to make his voice sound higher as well. But, and I didn't realize this, helium is also a critical input in many advanced technology industries. Chip making, medical imagery, aerospace. And the truth is, there's no viable replacement for this helium. Qatar is the world's second largest supplier of helium behind the United States. They literally produce approximately a third of the world's supply, about 63 million cubic meters, out of the total of 190 million cubic meters produced globally. So, the Strait stays closed, and you get rid of, 27 to 30% of the world's supply of helium. And again, it's a global market. Spot prices of helium have already doubled, and the cost could rise another 50% if the Strait remains closed. Now, the nations, again, that we're going to get hit first on this, Japan, Singapore, Taiwan, which, again, are home to some of the world's most advanced chip facilities. None of the chips we put in our rockets, most advanced jet fighters, are made in America. They're all made in Taiwan. So, what's going to happen? The chip facilities in Taiwan and South Korea believe that about 70% of their helium comes from the Gulf. If it goes away, they can't replace that. There are no such things as helium strategic reserves. So, again, if the president says, okay, he feels it in his bones, we won the war, we're going to stop, it will take weeks, not days, to restart the Qatari helium production. Meaning that even this next couple of weeks, with already the spot pricing doubling, is going to be a supply chain risk that will take place over the coming weeks and months. Aluminum. This closure is also disrupting the aluminum supply chain, a material essential for construction, transportation, energy generation, and more. The region, again, and I didn't realize this before the war, accounts for approximately 9% of all global aluminum production. And major smelters, I think there's 4 in the world, 2 are in the region, have been forced to curtail supply due to the continued closure of the Strait. And since the war began 3 or 4 weeks ago, global aluminum prices have spiked to their highest rate in the last 4 years. And again, that's what we've seen so far. A prolonged closure could see significant impacts here in America. Today, we rely on the Middle East for about 20% of our imported aluminum. Even before the war with Iran had started, aluminum prices in our country were at record highs due to the president's tariff policy of putting 50% tariffs on aluminum products. So you had the tariff policy with already high aluminum prices, shut down some of the smelters. This is going to drive up the cost of aluminum, not just around the world, but in the United States as well. A lot of aluminum goes into autos. Thinking about buying a new car may not be a good time, at least maybe better to buy it today than a month from now, because the cost is going to go up. The president's war of choice in Iran is also threatening global food production and the livelihood of farmers in the United States and across the world. Typically, about 1/3 of all fertilizer shipped globally passes through the Strait of Hormuz. But not dissimilar to the oil and gas production and transit, that fertilizer exiting the Gulf has literally ground to a virtual 100% halt, just as the spring growing season is starting in America. I talked to a farmer in Amelia County in Central Virginia. His costs had already gone up 40%. And that means at the back end, when his products grow, who's going to eat those costs? American consumers. The U.S. relies on the Middle East for about 15% of our fertilizer imports. This has already caused, as I said, in Amelia it was 40%, nationwide a 30% increase in fertilizer prices in America. And that fertilizer shortage has also been already shortened because of we're short on nitrogen, we're short on potash, which we get from Canada, again, because of the tariff policy. So what we grow and what costs for this growing season is going to be dramatically affected. Where's that going to show up? Prices at the grocery store. Now, how's the president responded to this energy crisis caused by his war of choice? Well, on Truth Social, he stated, when oil prices go up, we make a lot of money. Who exactly is making that money? Mr. President, it's not ordinary Americans who are paying more than $380 million a day just on the increased price of gasoline before the war started. Matter of fact, if you're going to pick winners and losers at this point, American consumers, losers across 5 or 6 different domains. Winners, Russia and Iran. And this is the one that kind of just blows my mind. In response to rising oil prices, President Trump and his Secretary of the Treasury announced he was lifting sanctions on 140 million barrels of Iranian crude. What does that translate into? That translates into more than $14 billion to the bad government of Iran, who is shooting at American soldiers, who is bombing our allies. That $14 billion could be a lifeline to that government.
Okay, so you were just listening there to Virginia Senator Mark Warner, who, again, is speaking on his concerns of what the current war in Iran will have when it comes to not only gas prices that we've seen, we're going to pull those up actually right now, but cost on groceries, cost on energy in general, and how Americans are feeling that right now. Take a look at these gas prices at the bit. We told you for the last several weeks that these gas prices were going up in a large part because of the Strait of Hormuz, where at least 20 or so % of the world's oil production travels through that strait, has essentially been bottled up by Iran. Now, if we look at the prices now, this is the average across the country, just shy of $4 a gallon, $3.98. Here in Virginia, we're a little bit under that at $3.88, and I do believe in Hampton Roads it's roughly around the same as well. So these are prices that continue to kind of go up at the moment. And when we've talked to experts through AAA and through Gas Buddy, one of the main things that they say, and you heard it there from Senator Warner, is even when the Strait of Hormuz opens up again, these gas prices are likely not to just go down immediately. It will take some time, in part also because of the time of year that it is, where it normally would go up as the switch to different oils, fuel, etc. But that's the concern, is how long this will last. And if you have filled up your tank here recently, you know that there is a difference. And so that is the concern that he is bringing up at the moment, and is certainly one in which we've heard from a lot of viewers, too, here in the Hampton Roads area.
And I just want to say, at AAA, they build it out where you can look at it by, so once you click on Virginia, you can look at it by city. Virginia Beach right now is $3.89, which is just above the Virginia average. But if you go up here to the Eastern Shore, it looks like they are above even the national average right now. with prices per gallon above $4.
Also in Fairfax, if you can click on Fairfax there at the top, the north eastern portion of the region. Where there you go. Look at that, $4.04. So the idea is that you're looking at the Eastern Shore showing that, but yes, to your point, Sarah, there are already places that are seeing it, the average in those areas above $4.
And
Okay.
then let me see if I can. I'm gonna see what North Carolina is seeing right now. I think they're cheaper than Virginia. So the average there is $3.76. Virginia, it's $3.88. In our area, $3.80, $3.74 in Camden. So it's a little lower in Camden, but still high. This time last year in North Carolina, gas was $2.88 a gallon.
A difference a year can make, but even look at last week, it was I wish we could go back to what it was even, let's see, a month ago. That's what I wanted to look at. Look at what it was a month ago. $2.78 in North Carolina there. Now you just showed that it's around $3.88 in the state, or $3.76 right there. But you can just, if we can go to Virginia, what it was last month compared to this. Last month we were at $2.82, and now we're at $3.88. So a jump of $1.06 from a month ago. So quite the impact that we're seeing at the pump. And the question is, how long will it continue before those prices go back down? Okay, we're going to take a quick break here at 10:39. We'll be right back with more here on Live Impact News. All right, welcome back to Live Impact News. We're going to take you to Washington, D.C., where we see President Trump speaking live with members of his cabinet. We'll take you right to it. You can hear what he has to say.
And others that didn't want him to do it. But I terminated that deal. Had I not terminated that deal, you would have had a nuclear weapon years ago and it would have been used, guaranteed. And one of the reasons you know about the guarantee is because their neighbors were sort of like bystanders. They weren't involved very much. They didn't choose heavy sides. They didn't want to because people were concerned with Iran. There was a big black cloud over the Middle East. They were concerned, but all of a sudden the war starts and they start shooting at these five countries. They start shooting at Qatar, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Kuwait, Oman. They start shooting at them, and everybody was shocked, including us. You know why? Because they're sick, and they had a plan to take over the Middle East. And some of those missiles that were shot at them were locked long before we even started this process. They were locked and loaded and aimed at those countries. They wanted to take over the Middle East, but we happened to come along, so it wasn't so easy. So right now their navy is sunk in the largest elimination of a foreign navy that has taken place, maybe ever, but certainly since World War II. Their air force is gone. Their anti-aircraft and communications capabilities are totally dismantled. And one of the problems they do have when they deal with us is we deal with people and the people aren't able to communicate with anybody else. So, because all of their leadership has been gone. The first level is gone, and they met to pick a new level, and they're gone. They're all gone because they didn't make a deal and because they're sick people. They're really sick. They're really sinister, sick people. And if anybody thinks it was okay to have a group of people like this to have nuclear capability, nuclear weapons, and if we didn't attack with the B-2 bombers, they would have had a nuclear weapon within 2 weeks of that, maybe 4 weeks. But between 2 and 4 weeks, they were planning to have a nuclear weapon. If we didn't hit them at that time with the B-2 bombers, and one of the great air raids in history, maybe the greatest, dark at night, no moon, no light, every single bomb hit its mark and just obliterated that place. So it's now buried deep under earth. And it was an amazing thing, but they would have a nuclear, and they would have used it without question. And you know that because why did they shoot all these countries that weren't even really involved with them? They weren't involved. They had no big problems because they're sick, because they want to take over the Middle East, not just Israel. Certainly Israel would have been the first on their list. They would have used nuclear weapons, a nuclear, you don't need too many of them, but they would have used a nuclear weapon on Israel, and they would have used it on the other neighbors, and then they would have come after us. And if we had a weak president, they would have done great damage. But fortunately, you don't have a weak president. I knew what was happening. And I think we've been proven right. They took one missile, went 2,500 miles. They supposedly didn't have a missile like that. They had no missile with that capability. But they shot the now famous Ireland, the island that the UK was very afraid to give us because they didn't want to get dragged in. But we don't want to get dragged into their wars either. It's one thing we're very disappointed, I'll say it publicly, we're very disappointed with NATO because NATO has done absolutely nothing. And I've always said, 25 years ago, I was somebody that wasn't a politician, but I was always involved in politics and I understood politics. I said 25 years ago that NATO's a paper tiger, but more importantly, that we'll come to their rescue, but they will never come to ours. And I want you to remember that we said this. They didn't come to our rescue. Now they all want to help. When they're annihilated, the other side is annihilated, they said, we'd love to send ships. They actually made a statement, a couple of them, that we want to get involved when the war's over. No, it's supposed to get involved when the war's beginning, or even before it begins. We had the UK say that we'll send, this is 3 weeks ago, we'll send our aircraft carriers, which aren't the best aircraft carriers, by the way. They're toys compared to what we have. But we'll send our aircraft carrier when the war is over. I said, oh, that's wonderful. Thank you very much. Don't bother. We don't need it. And we don't need it, and we don't need them. We estimated it would take approximately 4 to 6 weeks to achieve our mission, and we're way ahead of schedule. If you look at what we've done in terms of the destruction of that country, I mean, we're way ahead. Think of it, they have no navy, and they had good ships. 154 ships have been shot down and are resting very nicely at the bottom of the sea. And we did that in a matter of less than a week. Because we have the greatest military in the world by far, nobody even close. So we estimated it would take approximately 4 to 6 weeks to achieve our mission. 26 days in, we're really a lot ahead of schedule. The Iranian regime is now admitting to itself that they have been decisively defeated. They're saying to people, this is a disaster. They know it. That's why they're talking to us. They wouldn't talk otherwise. But they're talking to us because they've got a disaster in their hands. They're defeated. They can't make a comeback. We're free to roam over their cities and towns and destroy all of their crazy nuclear weapons and missiles and drones that they're building. Oh, we're doing that. They now have a chance to make a deal, but that's up to them. And they'll tell you, we're not negotiating. We will not negotiate. Of course they're negotiating. They've been obliterated. Who wouldn't negotiate? They are begging to make a deal. We'll see if we can make the right deal. And if they make the right deal, then the strait will open up. Hormuz Strait will open up. And even now, we don't know if there are any mines. You know, they have 22 they call mine droppers. Think of it. Who would have 22 mine droppers? There's a boat that drops mines. Who has 22 mine droppers? Except for people with very evil intention. So every one of those mine droppers has been struck with the same weapon we used to stop drugs from coming into the United States of America. When we hit those boats, it's the exact same weapon, extremely effective. We have unlimited supplies and extremely effective. But they have no more mine droppers. By the way, speaking of drugs, we're 98% down drugs coming in by water, by the ocean, by the sea. 98%. And we're trying to find out who are the 2% because we think they're the bravest men anywhere in the world. Maybe women. But whoever's on those boats is very brave or doesn't watch television. But where drugs coming in by sea, coming in by water, are 98% down. And now we'll stop the drugs coming in by land. The land is the easy one. You had to stop the water. A lot of it came in through water. Now it's all pinched. And these people are trying to come in by land. And we will, that's it, that's the easy one. But we had to take care of the water first. Nobody's coming in. Virtually nothing is coming in anymore. It was hundreds of millions of dollars a week were coming in by water. But they now have the chance, that is Iran, to permanently abandon their nuclear ambitions and to chart a new path forward. We'll see if they want to do it. If they don't, we're their worst nightmare. In the meantime, we'll just keep blowing them away, unimpeded, unstopped. Well, there's not a thing they can do about it. They can't do anything about it, you know. I tell you, if they could, you'd be hearing about it. You'd be hearing about it. You don't hear anything about it. They can't shoot our jets. We have the best military equipment in the world. No, not even a contest. You see that with Venezuela. They had other equipment. They didn't have ours. It didn't work. Didn't work. Think of it. We did the situation in Venezuela. It was a great military operation, getting a very, very dangerous man who's killed a lot of people, forced people into our country. Incredible. He emptied his prisons in Venezuela, emptied his prisons into our country, and I hope that charge will be brought at some point, because that was a big charge that hasn't been brought yet. It should be brought. He emptied his prisons into our country and was a major purveyor of drugs coming into our country. And he's now been captured and, I guess be given a fair trial. But I would imagine there are other trials coming because they've really sued him just in a fraction of the kind of things that he's done. Other cases are going to be brought, as you probably know. In the meantime, with Iran, we're going to keep doing what we've been doing, and nobody's a match for the United States, but they're not a match for the United States. It's small potatoes. That's why I'm so disappointed in NATO, because this was a test for NATO. This was a test. You can help us. You don't have to, but if you don't have, if you don't do that, we're going to remember. Just remember this in a number of months from now. Remember my statements. They have an expression, a great expression, never forget. You can never forget. So as we end threats to America abroad, we're focused here at home on building the greatest economy in the history of the world. Now, before this started, the Dow hit 50,000. The S&P hit 7,000. Both of those achievements were not achievable. Every one of you, most of you, I guess, said you'll never hit 50,000 during a 4-year period because it was too high a number. Well, we hit it in our first year. And I said, well, now we have to take an excursion to Iran and we have to stop this maniac who's no longer with us. The supreme leader wasn't so supreme, no longer with us. It's very sad. But we have to stop him from blowing up the world, blowing up the Middle East, and blowing up our country. And we did that. And frankly, I thought the oil prices would go up more, and I thought the stock market would go down more. It hasn't been nearly as severe as I thought. I think they have confidence in maybe the American president and maybe the people sitting around this table. But Americans filing their taxes this year are receiving record-setting refunds. It's been a very big story. Well, it should be a big story. I don't think you read about it that much, but I speak about it. You know, I speak about it because if I speak about it, at least people hear. You don't write about it. You don't write about the drug prices going down. It'll be going down 30, 40, 50, 60%, 70%. Favored nations, called most favored nations, we're going to be paying the lowest price anywhere in the world. Before we paid the highest price in the world, Bobby, right? And now we're going to pay the lowest price in the world. That's quite a difference. It's a difference of from 40 to 70 and 80 and even 90%. That's a pretty big difference. But we're slashing regulations and investment is pouring in from all over the world. We have the most investment of any country in history has been put into our country in the last year. And again, we had to take a little detour. Won't be long. Going to end soon. We had to take a little detour, go to Iran, and we had to put out a fire. Very dangerous fire that could have blown up big portions of the world, if not the whole thing. So tomorrow we'll be announcing a variety of actions that we're taking to support American farmers, who we never forget. We love the farmers. We gave them $12 billion out of tariff money. We had a tremendous amount of tariff money come in, and we continue to have. We've gone, as you know, the Supreme Court gave us a very unfortunate, foolish ruling, a ruling that gives the people that have ripped off our country for many years, gives them some money back. But it's one of those things. It's a terrible, terrible, horrible mistake they made, but it's okay because we have another method that's just as good. We'll use the other method. But because the tariff money has been so substantial, we gave our farmers who have been mistreated by some countries, we gave them $12 billion, and they're extremely happy, and they deserve it. They've been great. They never complain. They just go out and they farm, and they wouldn't do anything different. They wouldn't trade jobs with any of you, except maybe some of the fake media. I don't know. Somehow I don't see that. I like their job better, actually. I love the farmers. So we gave them $12 billion. So in just a few moments, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent will discuss the actions that we're taking to address energy prices, which have not gone up as much as I thought, Scott, to be honest with you. And, you know, it's not over, so maybe it'll go up a little bit more. It's all going to come back down to where it was and probably lower. And my predictions have been right. Trump was right about everything. They have a new hat. Trump was right about everything. It's pretty right. But Scott's going to address that. And I think before we go very much further, I want to ask Vice President J.D. Vance to say a few words about where we are with the situation he's involved with Steve and with Jared on negotiations. And then some of the others will speak. We'll have Marco say a few words, Pete Hegseth, who was born for this role. I mean, he's doing a great job. They gave him
All right, so you heard the president there at the end speak to particularly the concerns when it comes to energy, right? We were just showing you comments by Virginia Senator Mark Warner speaking to that particular issue. The president now speaking, or he's going to allow for Scott Bessent to talk about what's going to happen here in a few minutes to kind of help keep prices at bay or down at some point. Hopefully back to normal. He also mentioned the United Nations or NATO and his disappointment for their not involved. They're not being involved within the current conflict that is undergoing with Iran. There's been a back and forth, as been noted and reported, between NATO, United Nations, and President Trump over recent years here. And at some point, there was a point where the president here within the last week or so had said, okay, well, if that's the case, we're going to be able to do this. We do not need them. And kind of changing his course and tenor towards them when it comes to that. So it's interesting to hear his comments there. He says that, hey, he's going to remember how this plays out and who was actually a part of their effort. So we'll see what that means moving forward. We do need to take a quick break here. It's 10:58. We'll be right back here with more on 13 News Now Plus and Live Impact News. Okay, I want to let you know right now we are monitoring something happening in Newport News. In moments, we're expected to hear from Police Chief Steve Drew on the disappearance of a 16-year-old girl out of Newport News. Police investigating it as a runaway situation, but it's been days now, and there have been members of the community that have had many questions regarding the investigation, and the chief expected to give some answers on that here momentarily. This is a picture of her right there. This you're looking at is Mara Baruchzai, and she's been missing again for several days. There were search groups that met yesterday and then over the weekend as well, searching for her. Just doing whatever they can to try to help get this young girl back to her home. You can see that she's been missing since March 19th in the evening time. Last seen getting off a bus on Fontaine Road. Again, we're expecting to hear from Police Chief Steve Drew in just a few moments. Now, while we wait on that, we're going to now go back to that roundtable discussion with members of the Trump administration cabinet. The president just spoke, and now you can see Secretary of State Marco Rubio is speaking at the moment. So let's listen to what he has to say, especially as we have a lot going on internationally.
Millions of Americans in the future, and that is a risk that was not going to continue to exist as long as we had this president.
Thank you, Marco. You know, it's very interesting because yesterday I was watching, is it Anthony Blinken? And he was saying that they should have done it. But they didn't do it. Nobody did it. Nobody did it. For 47 years, Marco, that's the number, 47. I guess now it's 48, because we've been saying 47 for a long time. It's probably 48. But for 47, 48 years, every president should have done this. And some are saying now that They made a big mistake in not doing it, but we're taking care of business. Steve Witkoff, please.
Mr. President, it is my distinct honor to be a member of your cabinet and to report to you and your team on our negotiations with Iran. Mr. President, you directed Jared and I to pursue a diplomatic resolution with Iran prior to Operation Epic Fury, which we did. However, it became quite clear during these meetings with the Iranian negotiating team that we could not make a deal that fulfilled your objectives of the following: no enrichment whatsoever, no chance of weaponizing whatsoever, decommissioning of Fordow, Natanz, and Esfahan, which you destroyed in Operation Midnight Hammer, no stockpiling of any material, which they flagrantly had violated, turning all enriched material over to us, and a cutback in Iran's missile inventory and range capability of those same missiles. Throughout our meetings with the Iranians, we heard the following from them. The Iranians have the inalienable right to enrich. Then we heard they possessed enough 60% enriched material, 460 kilograms, to make 11 atomic bombs. Finally, we heard the following statement. They would not give up diplomatically what we could not win militarily. In other words, they were again miscalculating the success of Midnight Hammer, which was a total success. These are incontrovertible signs, among many other signs, sir, that their regime had not given their negotiating team authority to make a deal required by you. We conferred with you and all the other members of your foreign policy team, Susie Wiles, Pete Hegseth, the chairman, Marco Rubio, JD, Scott Bessent, Chris Wright, John Radcliffe, throughout all of these negotiations, and we were repeatedly rebuffed on everything we asked for. I have no doubt that we exhausted all efforts on behalf of a peaceful resolution, as you directed. Jared and I both agreed that the Iranians were there to buy time until a weaker president arrived. This was a flawed strategy, as your clear direction was to never allow Iran to obtain a nuclear weapon today or any time in the future. Against that backdrop, and our compelling military successes in Epic Fury, we have had multiple reach-outs from the region and others who want to play a role in ending this conflict peacefully. I can report to you today that we have, along with your foreign policy team, presented a 15-point action list that forms the framework for a peace deal. This has been circulated through the Pakistani government, acting as the mediator. And this has resulted in strong and positive messaging in talks, as you just indicated to the press. But these are sensitive diplomatic discussions, and you have directed us to maintain confidentiality on the specific terms and not negotiate through the news media as others do. I can say this: we will see where things lead, and if we can convince Iran that this is the inflection point with no good alternatives for them, other than more death and destruction. We have strong signs that this is a possibility, and if a deal happens, it will be great for the country of Iran, for the entire region, and the world at large. Your policy of peace through strength is the most effective tool for a diplomatic resolution here, just as this policy was an effective tool in each and every one of all of the other conflicts you settled in your first year. Iran is looking for an off-ramp following your powerful threat on Saturday. Your indications that you are willing to listen to peace proposals have been well received. You have instructed us that your preference is always peace, and that we should make that our priority. We have delivered that message, sir, along with the 15 points for peace. Finally, we have told Iran one last thing. don't miscalculate again.
Good. Thank you very much. Good job. Doing a great job. Everybody around this table is doing a great job. Pete Hegseth, please.
Mr. President. I'll start kind of where you left off, Mr. President. Thank you for doing the work of the free world and having the courage to step up and stop the Iranian terror regime from holding the world hostage. That's really what it is. And 27 days ago, Iran had a modern military. Never in recorded history has a nation's military been so quickly and effectively neutralized. Operation Epic.
We're going to come out of that meeting right now because we are seeing that the Newport News Police Chief Steve Drew and Newport News Mayor Philip Jones have now seated, and we are expected to hear them give an update into that missing 16-year-old girl out of Newport News. We told you this is her at the moment, 16-year-old Mara Baruchzai, last seen on March 19th getting off of a school bus on Fontaine Road. So let's give it to both the mayor and the police chief for this latest development.
Chief, for your leadership, as well as the women and the men of the police department who have been working around the clock in order to find Miss Marwa. I know there's been a lot of conjecture, not only on social media, but also in the community, and so we're doing this together in order to answer some of our questions. From the very beginning, Chief has updated me regularly, I would say probably every couple of hours, about not only the status of the case, but also the response from our community as well as our officers. When I talk to the people of Newport News, I want everyone to understand this clearly. Every single citizen is important to us. It does not matter your race, your color, your gender, your socioeconomic background. Every single resident is important to us, and we have invested a lot of time into this search, and we'll continue to do so. And what I would say is, if you know something, say something. Please reach out. We cannot do this alone. This is a whole community coming together, really trying to practice that golden rule and to be a good neighbor. And so with that, I will turn it over to Chief to do the bulk of this, and we'll take questions together at the end. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I just want to share a little bit about, I really appreciate, Mayor, I know you're busy in the time here. We have talked a lot about this situation we have. And what we're going to do today, or my intent, is to lay out to the community what we have done so far, sort of what happened. We're not going to get in the weeds of the evidence that we've recovered, but what we have done, what areas we have been in, and what we will continue to do. The most important thing to me is the family, right? Mara, I think I'm going to pronounce the name correct. I was getting some schooling yesterday. Baruchzai, her family is tremendous. We have met with them and talked with them daily. I usually have conversations with them late in the evening. They were in this room yesterday for about an hour and a half. The detectives laid out, we had conversations, and I'll share with you some of the officers that were here, laid out exactly what we have known and what we have uncovered over the last 4 or 5 days. And then we also shared some very important information with them. I invited them here today if they wanted to come forward and be at this press conference. The mayor and I both talked about that, and they're a very private family, and they have a lot of concern, which I completely understand. They declined to do that, and there's no pressure there. It was their decision. But I wanted to make sure that how important they know that they are to us and how important Mara is. So what I'd like to share with you is how we first got started, what happened. I'm going to share with you kind of the things, highlight some of the things that we've gone through and continue to go through, and some individuals that have really helped us and played a key role. Last Thursday, Marwa had stayed after school. She got on, it was after school program. She got on a bus, and instead of getting off at her normal location, she asked the bus driver to take her to another location, and the bus driver did. She got off of that bus. She left her backpack on the bus, and she got off with her Chromebook and some paper. She discarded the Chromebook and then walked away from the bus stop. And how do we know that? We know that from a Ring camera in the area. We know that from witnesses that saw her. We know that from bus camera footage and conversations with the bus driver. There was nothing criminal, no endangerment, no fight, no struggle at all. It was very casual. So since then, the family came forward and they made a police report. Officer Washington, who is the school resource officer at Mitchellville High School, and if I didn't mention that, she's a 16-year-old lovely female at Mitchell High School. Officer Washington heard the call come over the radio. He was working an off-duty assignment, and being the SRO there, he knows those students. He immediately left that assignment and went to the area where she was dropped off at from the bus and began knocking on doors himself before that report was ever completed. That initial report of a missing person is entered directly into, we have a short window of time frame to get that entered into NCIC and BSIN. That's the national database and the database here in Virginia. Since that time, what we have done, I just want to share with you a little bit of what the police department has done. We talked about the initial report, talking with the family. We've canvassed the neighborhood. We've sent a picture to all of our patrol officers who patrol our city. We've also got a better photograph Saturday morning from the family that we sent out as we did our alerts that went out Saturday, so that we all had that, community members had that. We produced flyers to be circulated in the area. We did a Cody alert. Drones have been deployed in several locations of the city. We've used our real-time crime center, which is our ability to go into different cameras that the city has or the police department has, or even local businesses. And we were able to find some footage of her walking away from the bus stop. No duress, she's not running, there's no one following her, just simply walking away. We have done multiple bloodhound searches. Those bloodhound searches have all sort of ended up in the same parts of our city. We'll share with you some of those locations as we go further. We have downloaded several Chromebooks. The schools have been tremendous. Dr. Mitchell, I've talked to her multiple times, and again, as early as this morning, just sharing with her some updates. And we've been able to recover some information from those Chromebooks that have been helpful in the determination of what we had. We've gone over bus camera footage. We've checked surrounding neighborhoods of the target area. We've talked to, we visited and talked to individuals at the mosque where the family attends. The detectives then have interviewed the family, and this is a benefit of having such a diverse department. We have 2 officers on our department that we took out of patrol assigned with our detectives that are very, very familiar with the culture and speak that language fluently. And that was tremendously beneficial, as not only talking to people in the community, individuals at the mosque, but being able to communicate in the direct dialect with the family, I think went a long way, and it calmed and reassured the family. As I said, they were here yesterday, and it was very, very, very beneficial. We've talked to ESL students, we've talked to friends and family, we checked city cameras in the surrounding area, we've talked to high school students, and they shared some of the conversations that they've had with Mara, gave us a little bit of background of how she is at school, some behaviors, and just conversations that she's had with them, sharing some concerns that she's had with other students. We've downloaded cell phones. We're still continuing to go through that. Now, these next things that I say, these are what we would do in cases where we're just not sure. But we walked and biked an 8-mile area in a wooded area. We placed a boat in the water with sonar. We don't have any information that there's anything in, but we just did it to make sure that we cover our bases. We've utilized FLIR systems with our park rangers, being able to search at night. We checked areas of abandoned buildings in our city. We've used our crime analysts to reach out directly to the state police and see if there's any trends, anything trends in that culture, anything with trends with juveniles in the Virginia area that we don't know about, maybe in our region. And they said that there's nothing, they aren't seeing any spikes or any trends in any way. We have talked with Amtrak police. We've looked at HRT bus cameras. We have done also reviewed ride-sharing apps, Uber and Lyft. And we've talked, of course, we have a great relationship with our federal partners. The FBI was here yesterday. We went over some of the things that I'm sharing with you just to see, putting their eyes on it, if there's anything else they think that we should be doing or anything that we missed or they'd like to double down on. And we got some couple emails that we wanted them to take a look at as well. That was a very productive meeting, but they seem to say there's nothing else that we would add at this point with the information you had. Now, some of the key points that have led us to what actually happened Thursday is conversation with students, conversations with the bus driver, witness statements in communities that some individuals said, I saw someone walking that matched that description. Technology, the backpack being left, the Chromebook downloads, and that real-time crime center footage. Our investment in technology has really helped us and paid off. We believe, and everything seems to point to at this point, that Mara is a runaway, that she's running away from what I don't actually know. I don't know if it's feelings. The only person that actually does know why she's run away is Marla. And that's why it's so important to talk to her and make sure that she's safe. Like, I want her to know that we love her, we care about her, we want her back safe, and we're gonna open a venue here. If she could reach out to the police department and just talk to us, let us know that you're safe. I'd like to start that conversation. No one's mad at you. You haven't done anything wrong. We love you. We just want to get you, we just want to know that you're safe and have some conversation with you. So far, the department here has had about 87 runaways just the first 3 months of the year. Out of those 87, 83 have been located and back with their families. There are 4 that are outstanding, and one of those 4, of course, is Marla. The locations I'll just share with you. We've been at Fontaine Road. That's where she got off of the bus at and walked away. We have that from eyewitnesses. We also have that some from other technology footage. The Warwick High School area, Gatewood, and Logan Place are areas that we have been through and looked at multiple times. Like I said, we talked about bloodhound searches. We talked with the mosque. We've seen some groups that have been out and done some searches, passing out flyers. I really appreciate the community coming together and doing that. Some things we won't put out right away because they're tight-knit into the investigation, what information we have. And that kind of goes a long way of some things we want to hold. The family has been very, very supportive. But we wanted to, the mayor and I both talked, we wanted to share some things with the community to let you know what we have done at this point. If there was anything at all that we felt students, her family, Mara was in any type of immediate danger, we would alert that right away. We just have not. The evidence doesn't point to that yet. There's nothing that's showing that. What it does show is we believe, and we shared with the family yesterday, that she's run away. Now, like any family, she's a 16-year-old girl. That always concerns me when we don't know where she's at. And that's one of the pleas I'd like to make today. We'll be continuing searching and handing out flyers, knocking on doors. We're still going through some technology. We just got some good information yesterday that detectives were going through late into the evening. But if anyone sees anything or has heard anything, to please let us know. I want the Muslim community to know that we are extremely vested in finding her, making sure that she's okay, and I just want her to know that we care about her. With that, I appreciate, we met with the family for about an hour and a half yesterday, and we laid out exactly what I'm sharing with you. And I wanted to make sure they were okay. The mayor and I both talked about if the family does not want us to do this, but they were open. What they want, her mom wants her daughter back, and that's what we all want. And so again, Marla, we just want you to come home. You're not in any trouble. You haven't done anything wrong. I want you to know we love you, we care about you, you matter to us, and we just want to provide a venue where you can reach out to us and have some conversation. So with that, Mayor, I don't know if we want to take a few questions, but I just thought it was important to share a little bit of that with the community, and then I wanted to send a direct message to Marla.
And yeah, one sec. But before we take questions, I just want to just double down on what you've said in terms of this is a partnership and collaboration in terms of all of our stakeholders. So the state police have been very helpful, as well as the governor's office and lieutenant governor's office, as well as the FBI. So this is more than just Newport News Police Department. This is a thank you to all of our stakeholders.
Absolutely.
2 questions. You said initially the bus driver, Marla requested that the bus driver drop her off at a different stop than where she's supposed to get off.
Yes.
Are you guys, is that school district protocol? Are bus drivers allowed to just drop students off wherever they want? Are you having that conversation with the school district? And if so, what is that conversation that's taking place? And 2, you said that you don't believe that Marla is in any imminent danger.
Yes, sir.
Why was the Cody alert issued?
Yeah, so that's 2 great questions. Let's start with the Cody alert first. Amber Alert and Cody Alert are very different. Amber Alert is immediate danger, that we have something concrete, abduction is requirement to get information out. Cody Alert is not at that same level. It is used for suspicious situations for individuals that are missing. And you have to remember, as this is an investigation where we don't have a lot of technology. She doesn't have a cell phone. We're not able to use some of that, so we're having to go back with other technology that's out there. So as the investigation goes on, when we met in here, we had about 20 different individuals going different directions, talking to communities, searching locations, real-time crime center, our drones that were in the air. Information's coming in. So when it becomes, at that point, when that Cody Alert was put out to the community, I'd rather be safe that we do have, there's some things that are suspicious here that we're not understanding. As the detectives have gone on late into Saturday evening, in through Sunday, and as of late of yesterday, and that's one of the reasons we brought the family in yesterday to lay out, it appears, the evidence that we have, the information that we have, everything points to a young girl who has run away, and not having some of that technology has created some barriers for us. So I just want her to know it's important. As far as the bus, I can tell you that there was conversation between her and the bus driver. She laid out, a teenager laid out, hey, this is important. I need to get here to see a family member. So certainly we've had those conversations, but I will tell you the school has been phenomenal working with us, and I cannot be more impressed with the students. Like I said, she's a Minchville High School student. We've talked to students from Warwick, Woodside, Minchville, people that she's known growing up. Students have come forward, talked to their school resource officer and detectives. I am so impressed with how much they care, and the mayor talks about coming together for students to come forward and to have that relationship where they feel like they can come forward and talk to us about conversations they had. That has been tremendous, and it kind of fits in line with things that we have seen through technology, things that we have recovered from citizens in the community, camera footage, and then those conversations have kind of are starting to put those pieces of puzzle together, if you will.
Could an adult have lured her from online chats, something like that, convinced her to run away, and also that Chromebook, has that been able to be accessed and see some conversations or anything that she could have been doing on that?
It's a great question. We don't have any information at all about any luring or anything with sex trafficking, anything with any trends. I can tell you we have a great relationship with immigration. We have even checked there to make sure absolutely not. There's nothing that points to that at this point. The Chromebooks, we are able to go through this partnership with the school. They're able to give us access, and we go through those together. Some of that is not only hers, but other individuals. And there have been some other things that we found as of late as yesterday that we're looking into, but nothing points to us about any type of abduction. We got some emails suggesting that. We have technology that would refute that is not what happened. That's not what occurred.
Are the extensive resources you guys have laid out in this one being used for those same other 3 kids that are missing?
So I will tell you, we constantly review. I just got an update yesterday of where we were at. Matter of fact, while we were out doing investigations and continuing to look for Marwa, there was a teenager who made suicidal comments. We used this alert system because it was an immediate threat, and we're able to find her in about 2.5 hours. So we never stop, right? Now, some of them are out there, we know where they're at, and they don't want to come home. They're with other families, or they might be repeat. But I will tell you, the resources we have, the investment the city has given us in technology, the relationship we have with our community, with schools, has been extremely beneficial in solving or locating individuals who run away. That's a great question.
And I just wanted to kind of piggyback off that question a little bit.
Yes.
Why this one did you feel the need to gather us here? Just because, to peel back the onion a little bit, and you both know how deeply personal this is to parents. We in the media, and I'm sure you do too, get inundated all the time. Why aren't you doing more for my person? Because that's the most important person in their life. Why in this case, when we're possibly asked these questions, why are they holding one in this case? Is that happening?
No, thanks, Brett, for the question. So, like I said in the beginning, we care about every single resident in the city of Newport News. The police department is stretched very thin. I know we ask a lot of you each and every day. And what I would say is that we care about each student, person that goes missing. I think for this case, when you have a community that they never ask for anything, they never, the amount of calls, the amount of texts that we've received, this is a community that it is in mourning. And so we have to answer that call. And so, that's what we're going to do. We've been continuing to go to the mosque and talk to people. We will do that again after today. This is more than just a snapshot in time. We're going to continue to make sure that we advocate for that community. This is top of mind for them. It's top of mind for us.
Yeah, this is the #1 priority right now for the Newport News Police Department. And some of the posts I've seen have given me some concern about, are you doing this, are you doing that? And I will tell you that there's some information that we did not want to put out right away because people can run with that, or it becomes this and it. And what happens when that happens is detectives still have to track that down. They still have to validate that or invalidate that. And that takes us away from what course of action information we have. So we still want that information to come forward, but there are some things that we look at as we work with the family and want to do discreetly. We've done things overtly. I will tell you, it really hit me talking with the father the other day, Marwa's father, he got in a car with some friends and they were driving the community. And he saw officers that were knocking on doors, and he saw officers that were using our drones, had drones in the air. And he stopped. He stopped and got out and thanked those officers for what they were doing. We talked about it that night when I talked to him. Again, just reaching out with the family liaison this morning. I don't want anybody to think that we don't care about this young lady. She is a beautiful girl. We're going to find her. I talked with her mother. I saw her mother heartbroken yesterday. Every resource we have. It's a little challenging because we don't have some of the tools that we have in other cases. And I don't want Marwa to think that she's in trouble or that anyone's mad at her. I just want to know that she's safe. She can reach out to the police department directly and have a conversation with us, with me. I just need to know that she's safe, and I want her to know that she's loved and we care about her.
So what led you, Chief, to the idea that she's a runaway? Like you just leaving, having the bus driver drive her to that location and leaving her backpack on the bus, or was it conversations with other students, or what exactly led you to that?
Yeah, I'll take the first crack at this. I think there's a lot that we're not going to say here today. That's why we called in, I think, the FBI and some other things. But I think what the intelligence looks at and reports is that currently it appears that she is a runaway. So with all of the real-time crime center, with all of the calls we've received, everything that's been collated, all of the data, that's what it looks like right now.
Some
conversations with other students?
Absolutely, yeah. So that's what I was talking about with the key points that lead us to that, is the conversations that she's had with students, that students have come forward and shared with us, things that we have found through technology and looking at some of the Chromebooks that we've been able to go through, witness statements, people that we've talked to, again, the backpack that was just left, the Chromebook that was discarded. The schools are able to tell where those Chromebooks are at. And when it's discarded, that's how we found it, right? Is being out there and getting a call and being able to tell where that Chromebook is, not having that. That was found right where she got off the bus. We have that she got off the bus, left the backpack on the bus, and discarded the Chromebook. And there was nothing illegal, nothing nefarious going on there. She did that on her own. So all of those things in the real-time crime center that's caught her on video just walking, all those things point to or lead us to what we have in front of us today is that she is a runaway.
Does she have family? Did she really have family near the bus stop?
No.
No. Did she say, like, I have an uncle there or something?
I believe it was a grandmother or grandfather that she used.
Okay. And she lived near more towards the Medville area? Her family lived up in that way, or did she live down towards?
Probably about 10 to 15 minutes of walking distance away from where she was trying to get to.
We'll go Coulter,
Yeah,
Brett, and then we'll
just
call it.
Two questions, just one to follow up on what he asked. You said you guys have been working with the FBI. Is that standard operating procedure? I mean, in these other three cases that are still active where you have runaways,
That's a great
did you call
question.
in the FBI for those? And if not, why not? And then second, given recent global events, primarily what's happening in the Middle East,
Yes, sir.
does that, heighten the concern around this particular case?
So none of that was discarded, as we talked about that as things started to really ramp up, and we talked about why did we put that Cody alert out when we did. It was information that we had at that time. As cases evolve and new information comes in, I will tell you on standing operating procedure, no runaway case is the same. Some of it is because I had an argument with my family. Some of it is because I'm upset with something at school. Maybe I didn't make a sports team. Some of it could be peer pressure. Some of it is social media. Some of it just, look, we were all teenagers at one time. That's a lot going on. So only Marwa knows why she ran away. But it depends on what evidence we have before us. Is it standing operating procedure? I can tell you if something points to us that we want to have a second look at, run something by, we will use our federal partners. We have an officer on every federal task force. That's extremely beneficial. We have a great working relationship with our community, great work relationship the mayor's already talked about with the state police will be partnering with us this summer and our federal partners. So because we wanted to have you're here, we had some emails and concerns that came through that we wanted them to take a look at, and we spent some time with them. They were here in this building yesterday.
And then, again, regarding the global events that have been taking place recently in the Middle East, does that give you guys any kind of a heightened concern for this particular case?
Right now, nothing is playing into that, but I don't want to discard anything. But we don't have any information or evidence that even suggests that. What we do have, the evidence and information we have in front of us, is that this is a runaway type situation.
We're there, and then Brett will end it.
Can a young person of this age have the means for now a week to just be out on their own, or is there any type of sources for her to be using? I'm just trying to kind of gauge.
So in some cases, individuals may help individuals who run away. If you're staying with a friend, if I ran away and the mayor allowed me to stay with him, right? Or we're high school friends, your buddies on a team, whatever it might be. You heard me talk about, talked with different students at different schools. And even going back to friends that she had in middle school. We just want to follow that along. So is it possible? I think so. I don't think we want to rule anything out. If someone was staying with someone, could they provide shelter and food? But we also walked through wooded areas. We did about an 8-mile track. Again, the boat in the water with sonar, all of those things. But I think that's possible. We wouldn't rule that out.
And where was that wooded area again?
Yeah, I don't want to get too specific, but I can tell you it's around the same locations that we talked about that we were in. Yeah.
No further questions.
You're good.
I'm good, sir.
Thank you all.
Do you have a printout of her?
Okay, so you just heard from Police Chief Steve Drew and Mayor Philip Jones. They are Newport News. Sarah, let's put that picture back up because this is the young lady that they are looking for. We just learned a lot of new information in this press conference in the search for 16-year-old Amara. Let me make sure that I pronounce it correctly from what the police chief just said. Baraksai. Mara Baraksai, we see there, 16-year-old who was last seen March 19th getting off of a school bus on Fontaine Road. Now, we learned that she is a student at Minchville High School. Very important there that the police chief says that at this moment, but based upon the evidence that they have, they believe this is a runaway situation. Now, they had said that before, but now we know what evidence that they currently have that is kind of leading them to this particular assessment, okay? They said not only did they speak with other students, but they spoke with the bus driver after they say that Mara asked that bus driver to be dropped off at a different location and after leaving an after-school situation there, activity. And at that point, in talking with that bus driver, along with video that they say that they have within the area, they saw her get off of that bus, did not appear to be in any kind of duress, had left belongings nearby as well. They were able to recover a backpack and then also a Chromebook that they say that technology kind of leads them also to believe. Again, their assessment that this is a runaway situation. So they wanted to make sure that they emphasize that that is where they are right now. Of course, as we've been reporting, a Cody alert has gone out, and I appreciate the police chief explaining for people who may not be familiar the difference between a Cody alert and an Amber Alert. In the Amber Alert, we know that a part of that threshold is the belief that someone has been abducted and there is immediate danger associated with that individual. For a Cody Alert, it really can be, hey, this is a very suspicious situation, the conditions of their disappearance. They wanted to make sure that they put this alert out there to be more safe, right? To make sure that they got that out. And so now they can use the resources, like you heard from him say, state police involved. They've also reached out to the FBI and talked to various agencies to help with all of this. A few things that really kind of stuck out to me, and the reporters, I thought, did a very good job of asking some of the questions. Again, some of the things that they were able to look at without giving all of the evidence, but they said that they obviously talked to the parents who declined to be at that press conference, saying that they were private. I told you about the bus driver, told you about some of the nearby cameras. Ring camera video is what they've been looking at as well, that Chromebook and conversation with students. They said police have been knocking doors as well. Again, it's been a week at this point. We know there were groups of people who had gathered, a search party that was put together to try to look in the area in which that Chromebook was found. They're also as we have video of people looking over the last several days here for this young lady. Police also saying that they have sent pictures across the city, across the area. They've used drones in several areas. They said also, on an abundance of caution, he wanted to make sure that they knew this was not because of evidence pointing towards anything that would suggest that something imminent has happened, but they went ahead and they walked certain areas and checked abandoned buildings. They checked lakes with sonar just to make sure as well that nothing, just to be able to check that off of their boxes to make sure that those were not areas where this young lady could be. I also thought it was interesting, some of the questions in terms of some of the agencies they had talked to as well, including, you heard the police chief, Steve Drew, said they even talked to immigration in this standpoint, right, to make sure this was not a situation from what we've seen across the country that's been reported on. They said that is not in their, this is not something that they have been a part of at all, right? So that they have checked off at this point as well. Again, where they are at the moment is they believe that this is a runaway situation. But the chief wanting to put out that plea just in case this young lady can hear, saying, hey, you're not in trouble. You are loved. We want to make sure that you get home safe. They did not share if they have any information concretely that would say why this young lady would want in their, in what they found to run away, saying that only she would know that answer. But I'm sure there are people who are wondering that at the moment, if that is indeed what has taken place. But the biggest thing is wanting for this young lady to be found, to be safe, and to be reunited with family. I would assume that is exactly what all who are a part of this are wanting. And you heard that from the mayor and from Police Chief Steve Drew. So a lot of questions were answered there, but ultimately they did say there were some things they were not willing to share at the moment because they don't want to give up everything in their investigation. But the chief did want to make sure that people in the community knew they're taking it seriously, that everybody matters to them regardless of who they are, and they are doing what they can to get this young girl back home. So let's go ahead and just show that picture in full one more time, Sarah, for people to see. This is who they are looking for at this moment. A 16-year-old girl missing out of Newport News for a week now. So if you have seen her, if you know where she could be, you are asked to call police immediately. You can call that number that's right there. You can see it on the Facebook page, but 757-247-2500. Again, if you see her, you know where she could be. You've seen her maybe in the last few days. Any tip can count to bringing this young lady home. All right, your time right now is 11:40. We're going to take a quick break. Welcome back here to Live Impact News. We're going to take you back to Washington, D.C. now, where the president and members of his cabinet appear to be taking questions from reporters in the room. So it looks like right now we're hearing from Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy and President Trump. So let's listen to the questions and the responses.
Business and the daycare centers in particular. They went out and inspected them in Minnesota, and they didn't exist. They're knocking on the door. He happens to be a young man, Nick, nice young man. He's done a very good job. They're knocking on doors. It's like homes. And they're getting hundreds of thousands of that. They didn't exist. And in California, it's worse. It's even worse. And I spoke with Russell Vogt. I said, Russell, don't send them any money. He said, but we have a court order that we have to. Can you believe it? A judge. The judges are really hurting this country. Our judges, Justice Roberts doesn't like when I say it, but the judges are really hurting this country. And frankly, the justices, the Supreme Court, has really hurt our country too.
Mr. President, do you have a new deadline, given that there are some talks now? Do you have a new deadline before taking?
No, I'll announce it. I mean, right now, you're talking about a deadline for doing some pretty big damage, even bigger than we've done. We'll see. Look, we have very substantial talks going on with respect to Iran, with the right people. You know, I told you about a present, right? Steve, can I reveal the present?
You can do anything you want to say.
Thank you. They said to show you the fact that we're real and solid and we're there, we're going to let you have 8 boats of oil, 8 boats, 8 big boats of oil. This was 2 days ago. And they'll sail up tomorrow. That was 3 days ago. And I didn't think much about it. And then I watched the news and they said, a very good anchor actually, happened to be Fox, but I watched it and he said, something's unusual happening. There are 8 boats that are going right up the middle of the Hormuz Strait. 8 big tankers are going loaded up with oil right through. And I said, well, I guess they were right, and they were real. And I think they were Pakistani flagged. Yes. And I said, well, I guess we're dealing with the right people. And actually, they then apologized for something they said, and they said, we're going to send 2 more boats. And it ended up being 10 boats. All right. I hope I haven't screwed up your negotiations, but I thought it was appropriate to say, because I did taunt you the other day by saying they're going to give us a present.
There were 2 illegal immigrants who were arrested at San Francisco airport for ignoring deportation orders. At the same time, as you highlighted, really great reception from American travelers for ICE agents. Is there a PR aspect of this that can allow future deportations to go on with less protesting, less outrage?
Yeah, it's amazing, because by putting ICE there, look, the press was very unfair to ICE. So was everyone else. These are great American patriots. They have a tough job. They have to find murderers and take them out of our country. I wouldn't want to do it. You wouldn't want to do it. Most people wouldn't want to do it. They do it. And, 11,888 murderers. And that's murderers. That's not drug dealers. That's not lots of other things. It's not people from mental institutions. Entire jail populations were released from major countries and let into our country through the open border. And ICE has done an amazing job. I wouldn't want that job. It's a tough job, dangerous job. So what happens is, by putting them at the airport, and I just say, do me a favor, take off your masks, and they did. For that, not for when they're looking for some, cold-blooded killers and they're in the, but for that, and they did. They took them off. And the passengers, I see the interviews of people, they're saying, these are nice people. One person said, he's a very strong man, but he's a nice guy. He grabbed my bag. He helped a woman with a bag that she couldn't lift. And I'll tell you, I don't want to use the word rehab because there was nothing to rehab, but rehab from the press, because the press is so tough on them. And these crooks in Minnesota, these crooked politicians and dirty cops, they're dirty cops, they're dirty politicians. Waltz is a dirty, crooked politician. The Attorney General is a crooked guy. He's no investigations, and I hope JD's going to do a great job. He's in charge of it now with somebody who's very talented. But I think it's easy stuff. They say $19 billion, think of it, is missing. $19 billion. You know, if we would solve half of the fraud problem, Pam, in this country, we would have more than a balanced budget. We'd have a surplus. And in the case of Minnesota, it's very Somalia-oriented. Think of it, these people come from a crooked country, disgusting country, one of the worst countries in the world. Acknowledged to be one of the worst countries in the world. Some people say it's the worst. They have no money, they have nothing. They come to our country, low IQs, and they rob us blind. Stupid people. And they rob us blind because we have crooked politicians and we have dirty cops. The Attorney General is a dirty cop. It's my opinion. It's only my opinion. And something should be done about him. Let's see what kind of job he can do.
Yesterday you said that you hate mail-in ballots.
Excuse me?
Should Iran be able to charge a toll for the Strait of Hormuz? They're charging some vessels to go through.
Oh, yeah. Well, should they be able to? I mean, they shouldn't be able to, but they're doing it a little bit. I don't look. Their capability is a lot less than it was 2 weeks ago, and with every week and every day, frankly, it gets less and less. All I can tell you is they're begging to make a deal. So let's see what happens. We may make a deal. Tell me about mail-in ballots. Go ahead. You mean I used a mail-in ballot? You probably said, yeah, I did.
Why did you
You know
use
what?
that? Is
Because
there
I'm
a bias?
president of the United States, and because of the fact that I'm president of the United States, I did a mail-in ballot for elections that took place in Florida, because I felt I should be here instead of being in the beautiful sunshine
But you
taking.
were in Palm Beach, sir, the last few weekends.
That's right, and
Would you
I
have gone in person?
decided that I was going to vote by mail-in ballot because I couldn't be there, because I had a lot of different things. But you know, we have exceptions for mail-in ballots. You do know that, right? So if you're away, we have an exception. If you're in the military, we have an exception. If you're on a business trip, we have an exception. If you're disabled, we have an exception. And if you're ill, if you're not feeling good, whatever. So I was away, mostly in Washington, D.C., so I used a mail-in ballot. But I appreciate the question, because I know it was so well-meaning. Yeah.
Mr. President, I actually just looked up the company that owns Sharpie, and they stock turned positive after you mentioned it. Question on your end.
By the way, they deserve it.
Yeah, question on
It's a
your
good
end.
product.
So you gave a 5-day deadline. With oil tankers going through the Strait of Hormuz, is that a condition to move that 5-day deadline?
Well, we don't want anything impeded. We want ships to go through. We don't know that they've dropped any mines, by the way, because we blew up all their mine droppers, right? We blew up every one of them. They're going to have to take them out on a rowboat or something. I don't know how the hell they get them out there, but we don't really know. You might speak to it. We don't know. There could be a few of them out there, but that's a lot. You know, if you have $1 billion ship and you get hit by a mine, it's not the greatest thing in the world. So if you think, the problem with that, that's not like you've decimated a military. If you think there may be a mine, that's a bad thought, and it stops things up. How are we doing in that regard, Peter?
Mr. President, you're right. We have so heavily degraded their coastal defense capabilities and their naval capabilities that any strategic or operational attempts to do those types of things are extremely limited. And we continue to move over the top of that. Now, whether Iran makes a wise choice or not to try to execute that is part of how this deal comes together. But with every passing day, the military pressure that we're putting on them lessens their ability to really hold that militarily at issue.
I mean, the problem with the issue of the Hormuz Strait is this. We've decimated them as a military. No Air Force, no Navy, very few rockets left. We blew up so many. Hard to manufacture them. Same thing with drones. The leadership is gone. The problem with the Straits is this. Let's say we do a great job. We say we got 99%. 1% is unacceptable, because 1% is a missile going into the hull of a ship that cost $1 billion, right? So 1% is we can't. If we do a 99% decimation, that's no good. So it's really, you know, a little bit. But I have a feeling it's going to clean up pretty quickly.
How close are you to
I could just say this: they want to make, and I probably hurt our little negotiation. It gives them a little impetus to say, well, I wish you didn't say that. But they said yesterday that we weren't negotiating with them, and now they admit that we were negotiating with them. So they want to make a deal. The reason they want to make a deal is they have been just beat to shit.
So are you thinking of taking control of Iran's oil?
It's an option. I mean, I wouldn't talk about it, but it's an option.
Is that something you've thought about?
Well, in Venezuela, we've done very well working with Venezuela, certainly. And we've taken in billions and billions of dollars. And by the way, Venezuela is doing better right now than they've ever done in the history of their country. And it's sort of like a joint venture. But the United States has made a lot of money, Marco, right? With it. Do you want to talk about that for a second?
About Venezuela?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think Venezuela in the first 2 months of this year generated more revenue from oil sales than they had in most of all of last year. But the money's not being stolen anymore. And it's being held in a U.S. Treasury blocked account. And to the extent it's flowing to the Venezuelan government, it's going to help people, like fund hospitals, pay teachers. It's not
And we
being
get a
stolen.
lot of it. And they got more than they have in many years. Think of it. We get a lot of it. We have a deal. We get a lot of it. We had 100 million, think of this, 100 million barrels we took in the first 2 weeks. 100 million barrels. That's a lot of oil. It's a lot of ships. And we got some and they got some. We paid for the ships. A lot of money left over. And Venezuela has done better now with us. Call it a partner, call it whatever you want. We've made a lot of money, and they've made a lot of money. We've paid for the cost of that military hit many, many times over. And we've only just started. Our relationship with Venezuela has been amazing. The people, actually, I'm the highest polling person. In other words, after the presidency, I think I may go to Venezuela and run for president against Delcy. I may run against Delcy. It's an option. No, they like me in Venezuela, but it's an option for me. It's a wonderful option. Yes.
There's some reports that Gulf allies are concerned about winding down the war too soon and potentially leaving Iran.
Well, they'd probably like us to stay, but
the concern
if we don't stay, look, it's a beautiful thing about airplanes that go 2,000 miles an hour is you can get back there very quickly. If we don't stay, we're going to be protecting them. We know, they've been very good. Hey, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, in particular, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, UAE, the three of them, Kuwait, Bahrain, they've been 100%. Now, in all fairness, they could have gone the other way. They were surprisingly missiled. They were shot at. Nobody ever thought they'd be shot at. UAE had 1,400 missiles aimed at them. Fortunately, they had the greatest anti-missile weapon in history called the Patriot. Almost every single missile was shot down. We had an incident recently where 101 missiles were shot at a certain thing that we own that's very valuable. 101 missiles going 2,000 miles an hour.
All right, you were just listening there to President Trump being asked questions there, a variety of different subject matter, most of it there on the war with Iran. I will say right now, we have run out of time here for Live Impact News. So up next, you're going to have 13 News Now at noon, where we have our reporters out. You're going to hear from several of them, more on the information from the search for that missing teenager out of Newport News, where there is a Cody alert. Also, we're monitoring situations both in Portsmouth and Suffolk. You're going to hear from reporters in just a bit there. But for now, thanks for watching us here on Live Impact News. My name's Eugene Daniel, along with producer Sarah Calloway. We'll be back here tomorrow at 10 a.m.